Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Podcast Motivation. I'm very happy you are here with us today. If you are listening right now, maybe you want to speak English more naturally. Maybe you already know some English, but conversations still feel difficult. Sometimes the problem is not vocabulary. Sometimes the problem is the conversation stops.
Yes, that happens to me a lot. I can answer one question in English, that part is okay, but after that, my brain becomes empty. I don't know what to say next.
That is a very common feeling for English learners. Many learners can answer questions like, "How are you? Where are you from? What do you do?" But after those simple questions, the conversation becomes quiet, and that silence can feel uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly. When the conversation stops, I feel nervous, and then I start thinking too much. I think, maybe my English is not good. Maybe I sound strange.
But the truth is something very important. Good conversations are not about perfect English. They're about keeping the connection. And today, we are going to learn how to continue a conversation naturally.
That sounds very helpful, because sometimes when I talk with someone in English, I really want the conversation to continue, but I just don't know how.
And that is exactly what we will practice today. We will talk about simple questions you can ask, easy reactions you can use, and natural ways to keep the conversation moving. Nothing complicated, just real English that people use every day.
That makes me feel better already, because sometimes English textbooks feel very formal, but real conversations are different.
Yes, real conversations are much more relaxed. People do not speak in perfect sentences all the time. They react, they ask small questions, they show interest, and those small actions keep the conversation alive.
So the secret is not long sentences.
No, the secret is showing interest. When you show interest, the other person naturally continues speaking.
That makes sense, because when someone looks interested in what I say, I want to talk more.
Exactly. So let's start with a very common situation. Imagine you meet someone new, maybe at work, maybe at school, maybe while traveling. The conversation usually starts with simple questions. For example, where are you from?
Okay, that one is easy. If someone asks me that, I say, I'm from Cambodia.
Great. But here is where many conversations stop. You answer the question, and then silence.
Yes, that silence is very real.
So what can we do? We can ask a return question.
A return question?
Yes, after answering, you ask the same question back. For example, I'm from Cambodia. How about you?
Oh, that's simple.
Very simple, but extremely powerful. Let's try it together. Someone asks you, where are you from? You say, I'm from Cambodia. How about you?
That feels very natural.
And now the other person answers. Maybe they say, I'm from Canada.
Okay, now what? This is where I usually get stuck again.
That's where follow-up questions help. Follow-up questions show curiosity. For example, oh nice, which city?
That's short and easy.
Exactly. You don't need a long question, just small ones. Let's imagine the conversation. I'll be the other person. Ready?
Ready.
I'm from Canada.
Oh, nice. Which city?
Toronto.
What could I say next?
Here is another simple reaction. You could say, oh, I've heard of Toronto, or I've never been there.
That sounds very natural.
Yes, and then you can add another small question. For example, what is it like?
Oh, that is a good question.
Yes, what is it like is a very useful phrase. It means, tell me about this place.
So the conversation becomes longer.
Exactly. Let's try the full flow. I'll say, I'm from Toronto. You respond.
Oh, I've heard of Toronto. What is it like there?
Perfect. Now I might say, it's a big city, very busy, but also beautiful.
Now I could say something like, I like big cities.
Yes, and maybe ask, is it cold there?
I heard Canada is very cold.
Exactly. Now look at what happened. A simple conversation became 4 or 5 sentences long, and the English was very simple.
That's interesting. The sentences are easy, but the conversation feels real.
That is the key. Real conversations grow step by step, not one big sentence, just small pieces.
I think many learners feel pressure to say something impressive.
That is very true. But natural English is not impressive, it is interactive.
Interactive.
Yes, you react, you ask, you listen, you respond again.
So it's like playing a game together.
That's a great way to think about it. Now let's look at another situation. Imagine you are talking with a coworker. Maybe they say, I watched a really good movie last night.
Okay, I understand that sentence, but what should I say?
First, react. You could say, oh, really?
That's easy.
Then ask a simple question. What movie?
Ah, that's natural.
Now the other person might say, it was an action movie.
Then maybe I say, I like action movies.
Perfect. And now another question. What was the name?
Oh, yes. Now the conversation continues again.
Exactly. The pattern is very simple. Reaction, small question, short comment. Reaction, question, comment.
That pattern feels much easier than trying to speak perfectly.
Yes, and it removes a lot of pressure. You are not giving a speech, you are having a conversation.
I think this also helps confidence because silence is the most stressful moment.
That is very true. Silence often makes learners feel embarrassed, but when you have a few conversation tools, you can keep things moving.
What are some good reactions we can use?
Great question. Here are some very natural reactions. Oh, really? That's interesting. Nice. Wow. That sounds fun.
Those are easy.
Yes. And after the reaction, you can ask something small, like, where was it? When did you go? Who did you go with? Did you like it?
These questions feel very natural.
Because they are. People use them every day.
I'm starting to see something. Conversations are like building blocks.
Exactly. One sentence builds on the next, and when you show curiosity, people enjoy talking with you.
That's encouraging because maybe my English doesn't need to be perfect.
It definitely does not. Communication is about connection, not perfection.
I like that. Connection, not perfection.
And when learners understand this, their confidence grows very quickly because they stop worrying about mistakes and they start focusing on interaction.
So the real goal is not perfect grammar, it's keeping the conversation alive.
Exactly. And in many situations, that skill is more important than advanced vocabulary.
I wish I learned this earlier.
Many learners say that, but the good news is this skill can improve very quickly with practice.
Can we practice one more example?
Of course, let's imagine a travel conversation. I say, I just came back from Japan.
Oh, nice. How was it?
Very good. The food was amazing.
I've heard Japanese food is great. What was your favorite dish?
Sushi.
Of course. Did you try ramen too?
Yes, and it was delicious.
That conversation felt very natural.
And look at the English. Very simple words, but the conversation kept moving.
I think listeners will feel more confident after hearing this.
I hope so, because speaking English should feel comfortable, not stressful. And the more you practice small conversations like this, the more natural your English becomes.
I'm starting to feel more relaxed about conversations now.
That's wonderful to hear. And there are even more ways to continue conversations naturally, especially when the topic becomes more personal or emotional.
That sounds interesting. Sometimes those conversations feel even harder.
Yes, but they can also be the most meaningful. And when you know the right phrases, they become much easier and much more enjoyable to have. So let's continue with that idea. Conversations become more meaningful when they move a little deeper. not only simple information like where you are from or what movie you watched, but also feelings, opinions, and experiences.
That is the part that feels difficult for me, because when someone shares something personal, I don't always know how to respond.
Yes, that is a very honest feeling. Many learners worry that their English is not good enough for emotional conversations. But actually, emotional conversations often use very simple language.
Really?
Yes, people don't usually use complicated words when they talk about feelings. They use clear, simple sentences. For example, imagine a friend says, "I had a really stressful day at work."
Maybe I would just say, oh.
That is a natural reaction, but the conversation might stop there. Instead, we can show empathy.
Empathy?
Yes, empathy means you show that you understand how someone feels. Here are a few natural responses. "That sounds stressful. I'm sorry to hear that. That must be difficult."
Those sentences feel very kind.
Exactly, and kindness makes conversations stronger. After that, you can ask a gentle question. For example, "What happened?"
Oh, that's simple.
Yes, let's practice. I'll say the first sentence. "I had a really stressful day at work." You respond.
That sounds stressful. What happened?
Perfect. Now I might say, "We had a big project and everything went wrong."
Then maybe I say, oh no, that must be frustrating.
That's excellent. And now you can continue the conversation with curiosity. Maybe ask, "Did you finish the project?"
I see. The key is reacting first, then asking something.
Exactly. Reaction first, then a question.
That pattern keeps the conversation alive again.
Yes, and something important happens when you respond with empathy. People feel comfortable talking with you.
That makes sense, because when someone understands your feelings, you want to continue sharing.
Exactly. Now, let's look at another common situation. Imagine you meet someone at a social event, maybe a small party or a gathering. The person says, "So, what do you like to do in your free time?"
Okay, that sounds positive.
Yes, so your reaction can show excitement too. For example, "Oh, nice. That sounds great. That's exciting."
Then I could ask, what are you going to do?
Perfect. Let's try the conversation. I'll start. "I'm really excited about this weekend.
That sounds exciting. What are you going to do?
I'm going hiking with some friends."
Nice. Where are you going?
"A national park outside the city."
I've never been there. Is it beautiful?
Yes, it's amazing. There are mountains and waterfalls.
Wow, that sounds like a great trip.
See how the conversation keeps growing?
Yes, and the English is still very simple.
That is the most important lesson. Simple English can create very natural conversations.
Sometimes I think learners believe they must say something very smart.
Yes, that belief creates pressure, but most conversations are not about intelligence. They are about connection and interest.
I like that idea. Connection and interest.
Now, let's talk about another moment that many learners experience, the moment when your mind becomes empty.
That happens to me often.
You are not alone. Sometimes your brain just stops. Maybe you feel nervous. Maybe you feel shy.
Yes, and then I panic a little.
That's normal, but here's a very helpful trick. When your mind goes blank, you can use conversation bridges.
Conversation bridges?
Yes, these are small phrases that give you time to think.
Oh, that sounds useful.
Here are some examples. That's a good question. Let me think. That's interesting.
So these phrases give me a moment to think.
Exactly. They make the conversation feel natural while your brain prepares the next idea.
That is very helpful because silence feels uncomfortable.
Yes, but these small phrases fill that silence.
Can we practice one?
Of course, I'll ask you a question. What kind of music do you like?
That's a good question. I like relaxing music.
Very natural. Now I can continue the conversation. What kind of relaxing music?
Maybe piano music or soft instrumental music.
Nice. Do you listen to music while working?
Yes, sometimes. It helps me focus.
That's interesting. I do that too.
This conversation feels very comfortable.
And notice something important. No complicated grammar, no difficult vocabulary, just natural interaction.
I think this is very encouraging for listeners.
Yes, because English fluency is not only about knowing words, it's about using simple language confidently.
That idea really changes how I think about conversations.
Good. Now let's explore another real-life situation. Imagine you meet someone at a social event, maybe a small party or a gathering. The person says, "So, what do you like to do in your free time?"
Okay, maybe I say I like watching movies and listening to music.
Good. Now here's an important trick. After answering, add a small question back.
Like earlier?
Exactly. You can say, "What about you?"
That keeps the conversation balanced.
Yes, conversations should feel like a two-way street. Both people share.
Okay, so I say I like watching movies and listening to music. What about you?
Perfect. Now I might say, "I enjoy cooking."
Then maybe I say, oh, nice. What do you like to cook?
Exactly. And maybe I answer, "I like cooking Italian food."
Then I could say, oh, I love Italian food.
And maybe ask, "What's your favorite dish to cook?"
This pattern keeps repeating.
Yes, reaction, comment, question.
It's actually a simple rhythm.
That's a great word. Conversation has a rhythm.
And when you learn the rhythm, speaking becomes easier.
Exactly. Now, I want to share one more powerful technique. It's called sharing a small story.
A story?
Yes, sometimes when someone talks about something, you can connect it to your own experience. For example, if someone says, "I went hiking last weekend," you could say, "Oh, nice. I went hiking last year in the mountains. It was beautiful."
So now the conversation becomes more personal.
Yes, stories create deeper conversations.
But the story does not need to be long.
Exactly, just one or two sentences.
Let me try. You say something.
Okay, I tried a new restaurant yesterday.
Oh, nice. I tried a new cafe last month. The coffee was amazing. What kind of restaurant was it?
That was excellent. You shared a small story and asked a question.
This feels like real conversation.
Because it is.
I think listeners will notice something important. When you focus on the other person, conversation becomes easier.
That is absolutely true. Curiosity is one of the most powerful conversation skills.
So if we remember three things, they are reaction, question, curiosity.
That is a great summary. And when you combine those three things, conversations rarely stop.
I'm already imagining situations where I could use this. At work, at a cafe, even while traveling.
Exactly. These skills work in almost every conversation.
But sometimes conversations become quiet again later.
Yes, that can happen, even between native speakers. Silence is not always a problem.
Really?
No, short pauses are normal, but if you want to restart the conversation, you can introduce a new topic.
How do we do that naturally?
You can say something like, "By the way, have you seen any good movies lately?"
Oh, that feels natural.
Or, "Speaking of travel, have you ever been to Thailand?"
Ah, I see. Speaking of connects topics.
Exactly. It helps conversations flow smoothly from one subject to another.
That is very useful because sometimes the topic simply ends.
Yes, and that is completely normal. The key is knowing how to gently open a new topic.
I'm starting to feel much more confident about conversations now.
That's wonderful. Confidence grows when you understand the patterns behind conversations.
Before today, conversations felt unpredictable.
And now?
Now they feel like something I can manage, step by step.
That is exactly the goal, helping learners feel comfortable speaking English in real life.
I think many listeners will want to try these techniques today.
I hope so, because the best way to improve speaking is not studying for hours, it's using the language in small conversations.
Even short conversations can build confidence.
Yes, and something wonderful happens when you practice regularly. Your brain starts responding more naturally, without overthinking.
That would feel amazing.
And it is possible for every learner, with patience and practice.
I'm curious about something. What happens when conversations become deeper, when people talk about dreams, goals, or personal challenges?
That is where conversations become truly meaningful, and surprisingly, those moments can also be great opportunities to practice English.
Really?
Yes, because meaningful conversations often create stronger connections, and when communication becomes easier, something very important happens. You start to feel more confident using English.
Not because your grammar suddenly becomes perfect, but because you realize that people understand you.
That feeling is very powerful. I remember the first time someone understood my English story. It was a simple story, but the person listened carefully.
I remember the first time someone understood my English story. It was a simple story, but the person listened carefully.
Moments like that stay with us. They remind us that language is not only about words, it is about sharing experiences.
I think many learners forget that. They focus so much on mistakes.
Yes, but conversations are not tests. They are connections between people. And when we focus on connection, the pressure becomes much smaller.
That makes speaking feel less scary.
Exactly. Now let's imagine another real-life conversation, this time a slightly deeper one. Maybe you are talking with a coworker during lunch. They say, "I've been thinking about changing my job."
Oh, that sounds like a serious topic.
Yes, in moments like this, a good response shows interest and support. You could say, "Oh, really?" Or, "That's a big decision."
Then maybe ask a question.
Exactly. For example, "What makes you want to change?"
That feels respectful.
Yes, and respectful conversations build trust. Let's try it together. I'll start. "I've been thinking about changing my job.
That's a big decision. What makes you want to change?
I feel like I need something new, something more challenging."
Then I might say, that makes sense.
Perfect. That phrase is very natural. That makes sense shows understanding.
Then maybe I ask, what kind of job are you looking for?
Excellent. Now the conversation continues naturally.
I notice something again. The sentences are short, but the conversation feels meaningful.
Yes, meaningful conversations do not require complicated language. They require attention and curiosity.
That idea really changes how I think about speaking English.
I'm glad to hear that. Now let's practice another situation. Imagine a friend tells you about a personal goal. They say, "I want to start my own business someday."
That sounds exciting.
Yes, so you might respond with encouragement. For example, "That's a great goal."
Then maybe ask a question.
Exactly. Let's try the conversation. "I want to start my own business someday."
That's a great goal. What kind of business?
Maybe a small cafe.
Oh, nice. I love cafes. Where would you open it?
Maybe near the beach.
That sounds amazing.
See how natural that feels?
Yes, and I noticed something important. Encouraging phrases make conversations warmer.
That's true. Here are a few very helpful encouraging phrases. "That's a great idea." "That sounds exciting." "That would be amazing." "I hope it works out."
Those phrases can make someone feel supported.
Exactly. And supportive conversations often become longer and more meaningful.
I think that is something many learners want. Not just speaking English, but connecting with people.
Yes, language becomes truly powerful when it helps us connect.
And today we talked about many ways to keep conversations going.
We did. We explored reactions, simple questions, follow-up questions, sharing small stories, and showing empathy.
Those tools make conversations feel much easier.
Yes, instead of worrying about perfect sentences, you can focus on interaction.
And that removes a lot of pressure.
Exactly. Before we finish today's episode, I want to share one small piece of advice for our listeners.
I'm listening.
Try one small conversation this week. Just one. Maybe with a coworker, maybe with a classmate, maybe with someone you meet online.
And use one of the techniques we talked about.
Yes, react. Ask a simple question. Show curiosity.
Even a 2-minute conversation can help.
Absolutely. Confidence grows through small experiences.
And those small experiences become bigger over time.
Exactly. One conversation becomes 10. 10 become 100. And slowly, speaking English starts to feel natural.
That sounds like a beautiful journey.
It truly is. And remember something very important. Making mistakes is part of that journey.
Yes, mistakes are not failures. They are learning moments.
That's a wonderful way to say it. Every conversation you have is practice. Every question you ask builds confidence.
I hope our listeners feel encouraged today.
I hope so too, because learning English should feel empowering, not stressful.
And conversations are one of the most enjoyable ways to learn.
Exactly. Before we say goodbye, let's leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
Try one small conversation this week. Just one. Maybe with a coworker, maybe with a classmate, maybe with someone you meet online.
Use one of the techniques we talked about.
Yes, react. Ask a simple question. Show curiosity.
Even a 2-minute conversation can help.
Absolutely. Confidence grows through small experiences.
And those small experiences become bigger over time.
Exactly. One conversation becomes 10. 10 become 100. And slowly, speaking English starts to feel natural.
That sounds like a beautiful journey.
It truly is. And remember something very important. Making mistakes is part of that journey.
Yes, mistakes are not failures. They are learning moments.
That's a wonderful way to say it. Every conversation you have is practice. Every question you ask builds confidence.
I hope our listeners feel encouraged today.
I hope so too, because learning English should feel empowering, not stressful.
And conversations are one of the most enjoyable ways to learn.
Exactly. Before we say goodbye, let's leave our listeners with one final thought.